hills and build them high. Makes a long time climbing before I die. I want the chance to spit in his eye. Oh, well, they gave me bars, but I can see between to a dusty yard and a long gone green. They call that freedom, if you know what I mean. And I dry my sorrows, but the whiskey's gone. I'm sober as...
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Shortbangers. I'm Matty. I'm joined tonight by John, as usual. John, how are you doing?
I am good. I'm trying to find the French for 31 just to try and see if I can remember high school French.
If you find it, that's not remembering it.
No, well, obviously I didn't say it out loud, and
Right.
I thought in my head it was like 20 or 31, and I was right.
31 is what it is in German, I think. Pardon the pronunciation. So it's episode 31, which is why we're talking about the number 31, John.
Aye.
Yeah.
But
squad number 31 for the Hibs. Anyone had it?
no one notable that I can think of off the top of my head. Can you think of anyone?
Nah.
Did we talk about this not that long ago?
Yeah.
Long ago. I can't remember what the shirt number was, but I think Michael Antoine Courier came up.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't 19 or something that was. I don't think he was 19. 28, 23? That's Scott Allen. I'm sure we missed an obvious one.
Was Alan O'Brien number 23 or Fletcher number 23?
I don't know.
There was a website someone told us
There
about.
was.
We've obviously never written it down.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'd be Googling it right now.
I do this all the time. You see, you have a conversation like this and you try to remember, and then you get to the point where you can't remember, so you look it up. And then you're like, all right, that's good. It satisfies you for that moment. But then, literally, if you asked me that same question 10 minutes later, I would have forgotten again. It's like the Seven Hills of Edinburgh. Do you know the Seven Hills of Edinburgh? Did we talk about it on the podcast?
We were talking about it like 2-3 weeks ago, or in the last 2-3 episodes.
I'll not go back.
And you told me the same story about not being able to remember
the
Seven Hills.
That's fucking true. And you can't remember conversations either, clearly. Right, but we'll get into some questions.
No, because I've seen some of them, and I just wanted to rip my hair out. Like, what are people doing to us? We are not learned people.
Well,
we are idiots on a podcast trying to decipher and provide.
I think that's
something.
That's half the battle, isn't it? Right. So, first question then, John, is from Ryan Portopote HSC. Would you rather eat your own hair or support Hearts? That's that
one's easy. I actually replied to the boy to say, I'm going to go bald.
Aye. Now, every day of the week, there are very few things that I wouldn't rather than supporting Hearts. You know, if it comes down to it, there's loads of things that I would think that's the better option.
Are you precious about your hair at all? Like, if you were to go,
John, look at my hair. Look, I shaved it however many weeks ago, and I've not touched it since. I've showered. I look particularly like a microphone tonight.
I was going to say it's going to be a bit toilet brush.
Yeah. I need to get it cut soon. Just need a barber's to open, because now it's too close to the barber's opening to shave it again, because that's too severe. My plan was always shave it, let it grow till the barber's open, and then they can fix it. I'm kind of hoping the barber's open soon.
See, that's the thing about the lockdown number one all over is the same length all over. It just cut when it grows back in.
Yes.
It's like Afro style.
I'm not going to eat it though.
No.
Unless the alternative was supporting Hearts, in which case, give me a knife and fork.
Aye. Even if you were precious about your hair, you'd still rather go bald than support Hearts.
Yeah. And thinking about it, a knife and fork would be absolutely shite if you're trying to eat hair. Like, how would a fork is not going to be any use trying to get your hair onto it? You'd be better with a spoon. Or a spork.
There's a boy.
Did we talk about sporks as well? Did that come up?
We did talk about sporks. Yeah. Who invented them? And I said, I think it was hill climbers and ramblers.
Right enough. Somebody who wanted to eat hair, because I think a spork would be pretty useful for eating hair. Right, we'll move on. Anyway, Steve
must be like eating a big. I was going to say, must be like eating a big bowl of shredded wheat. Shredded wheat is torture.
Nicer than hair, though, I would imagine. Like, you get one hair in your mouth, that's horrendous.
Have you eaten shredded wheat?
Yeah. You just
Oh,
tan loads of sugar on it.
tan loads of sugar on your bum.
You could do shredded wheat with a ton of sugar on it. Is decent. It's like Weetabix as well. Weetabix, if you get enough sugar to form like a crystally crust on the top of the Weetabix, is amazing.
Is that like creme brulee Weetabix?
Something like that. Aye, that was that's why I'm in the nick that I'm in now. We eating stuff like that. Weetabix is meant to be healthy, isn't it? Like meant to be good for you. But no, if
Aye.
you have like an equal Weetabix to sugar ratio, I think
It'll
that ruins the goodness.
make you regular, but get you type 2 diabetes at the same time.
Steve McMahon said, "Would you rather Hibs folded or merged with Hearts?"
Fold.
Well, I was thinking about this one because that's the obvious one. But if we did the reverse Mercer and merged them, and the merged team was called Hibs and played with Easter Road, was
See, that's not a merger though, is it? This was the problem with Mercer's plan. It was a takeover.
yeah, but well, if it's good enough for the goose, I would say that on those terms, yes, I would take it if Hibs obliterated Hearts. But if it was to be like Hibs of Midlothian or something like that, that can get right in the fucking sea.
Oh, what about, would you take Heart of Hibernian?
Nope. Man,
No.
because you imagine having to incorporate maroon somewhere on the shirt.
This is why we are polar opposites, because I just imagined a sort of combined maroon green jersey, and it would be absolutely stinking. Like the two, like we just do not mix.
Imagine if you'd looked at that jersey with 3D glasses on, your old style red and green ones. It would do fucking funny things to you.
Be like the players were running into you.
Right, next next question. Kunster, how many charities and businesses have Hearts on their watch list? So normally our answer to this one, John, would be 15, but I don't think 15 would do that justice. It would be 15 squared, whatever number that comes to.
There is a Twitter account that has them listed, and they tweet them out occasionally. I don't know if the person that set it up is like an active user of Twitter.
Hearts finally apologise. Was that?
Is it that one?
Well, that they definitely did it. The Hearts finally apologise Twitter account, which was active a lot over the summer, was pretty amusing. That and the kickback meltdown one.
How accurate is kickback meltdown? Because I think they've got a couple of accounts, and I wasn't sure if they were both accurate, if neither were accurate, if only one of them was accurate, because some of it is so outlandish that it can't be real.
I don't know. I believe it's all real. I think that they lift quotes directly from there. I think that's just the whole point of it, isn't it? They take quotes that are fucking moronic and post them to highlight how moronic Hearts fans are.
Do you know, I might have to get myself a wee login and
You'll know
go on
last
and
week,
just...
I've not looked at kickback for years, mate, and the last time I looked at it was, I say I haven't looked at it for years. If something hilarious happens, I do go and have it. Like after Brora Rangers beat them, I went and read the match thread. That was good banter.
Was it?
I never read the Queen of the South one though. I've not been on since then. But aye.
They've got Dunfermline this weekend as well. Was it this weekend?
Yeah, I think it is.
Do you know, my confusion is because we're playing in the Scottish Cup on Monday, and they're obviously not playing on Monday.
Aye. Why are they not playing in the Scottish? Oh aye. Right, so 15 squared, I think that was the answer we're giving Kunster. That's how many it is. Whatever number 15 squared is, Kunster, and I can't tell you off the top of my microphone head what that number is, because I'm not Carol Vorderman or Rachel Riley, as you can tell if you're watching this. Although I do have the dress, if you're not. 21/5/2016. This is Charlie. He said, what's the acceptable amount of cream eggs you're allowed to eat in one day? So come up for Easter, John. Hunters, do you like a cream egg?
Love them. Even since they changed the recipe, Cadbury's pulled a fast one. I think after they got taken over by, is it Mondelez, who do Oreos? They said that, so traditionally the Cadbury's cream egg was made with dairy milk chocolate, but unlike the bar of dairy milk, when Mondelez came in and said, well, there's nothing to say that this needs to be made of dairy milk chocolate, which I think is obviously the more expensive version, so they replaced it with that soya-based, I want to say soya-based shite, but actually I didn't really taste any difference between the two.
Is this actual factual?
Aye, they changed the chocolate and the cream egg about 4 or 5 years ago.
Well, I fucking never. I had no idea. But I quite like a bit of dairy milk. I like a cream egg as well, and never ever noticed. There's a chippy next to us called the Hook and Catch, and they're doing deep fried cream eggs at the minute as a special. Would you be tempted by a deep fried cream egg?
When the craze for deep fried Mars bars first took off in anywhere, I don't know if it was I don't know if it was a Scottish invention.
Bound to have
But
been, John. Come on.
but we get a bit of stick for our deep fried diet, but I don't know if it's as widespread as people make it. But no, I had a deep fried Mars bar, and I definitely give a deep fried cream egg a go, but it's not something I go looking for in the chippy.
There was a thing about Cadbury's on Channel 4 or Channel 5. Channel 4, never really watched Channel 5. Channel 4 a while back, and they went to a place that was doing deep fried cream eggs. Apparently, they were really popular. Don't know. Might go and try one and report back for the next episode, John.
Do
it. Right, okay. So, Charlie, I think it's unlimited amount of cream eggs. They wouldn't be like regular eggs. They're not going to make you, normal eggs. If you had loads of them, would bung you up, don't they? So,
aye, so seemingly like the body's got a tolerance for the number of eggs it can eat because of like some particular content. I think it's around about like 15 or something. Any more than that, and you're going to chunder or die. I think Charlie had said that he could only eat 3 before he wanted to throw up, and I was thinking, amateur. I could definitely eat about 10 times that.
How many did you get with an Easter egg? It's 2.
I think it's normally 2.
Aye, so you would. You're having that in a day. You're having the chocolate egg and the 2 cream eggs on the same day. You get easy to another cream egg on that one.
There's a wee place near to me called Artisan Cheesecake. I think they've got a place on Dash Street as well, and they've got like a half a shell of an egg. They filled it with like brownie mix, and then they've put a cream egg inside that as well, and it just looks phenomenal.
That looks decent. Good cheesecakes for Artisan as well.
Oh, phenomenal!
Yeah.
They've got actually the one near me. I don't know if the one in Edinburgh does it, but they've got a series of bagels that are named after places in Edinburgh, and I can't pull myself away from the Sunshine on Leith. It's like not just because of the name; it's brilliant.
Good. Well, we advert for them as well. Hopefully, they send us some cheesecake. Good times come to those who wait, says Aldo. He said, if you had a very healthy bank balance, Abramovich amounts, what would you invest in first with Hibs? If you could pick one current SPFL player to sign, why would it be Jackson Irvine? He said, see what I did there, boys. One Jackson Irvine, you know it makes sense. So you can sign any player in the SPL for Hibs, John. You've got an open checkbook, a blank checkbook, not an open one. If you have an open one and have no money, that's fucking useless. A blank checkbook.
First one that springs to mind, and as much as I didn't like him, I'd maybe go for Ryan Kent, just for a wee bit of a sort of complimentary winger to Martin Boyle.
Just to tell him he looks nice in that.
Aye.
I
love you.
You need complimentary players. Just give you a wee boost every day.
Looking good today, John. Thank you.
It's funny because this is one of those questions where it highlights our ignorance at other teams.
There's a lot of good players in the Scottish Premiership, not just playing for Rangers and Celtic. In fact, I was thinking about this last night when I was watching the Scotland game. You had Andy Robertson, he's coming out of Scotland. You've got Ryan Christie was playing. You've got Callum McGregor was playing. John McGinn, obviously. There's quite a few guys. Well, 2 of them in particular are playing in the Premiership, which is apparently the best league in the world.
Yep.
Who began their career in Scotland.
Yep.
Plenty more out there.
You're going to find quite a lot of them if you're going to the Scotland team, to be fair.
Aye, no, that you know that's not what I
meant. Right, if I was picking any player.
Well, McTominay, he never started his career in Scotland.
No, he didn't.
Neither did Che Adams.
No.
So fuck you.
I think Che Adams might have had his first trip to Scotland on Wednesday night. Right, so I would probably go for McGregor. Kenny's just signed a new deal at Rangers, but Alan McGregor just so we could get up close to the anger.
Just like feel the anger radiating from him.
Aye, see, you could get the proper impact of it.
Do you think, given his, let's say, blue leanings, do you think you have enough? If you have Abramovich style wealth, do you think you have enough money to sign Alan McGregor to play for Hibs?
Aye, easy, easy. Aye, no bother. Right, Mike says, how many magic trees do you need to disguise the smell of a rotten corpse in the cellar? Asking for a friend. So, Jordan, how many? You've got a cellar. How many magic trees did it take you?
Have you seen? Oh, what's it called? Shallow Grave. Christopher Eccleston, Ewan McGregor. So, is it? Does he put magic trees up in the attic, or is it just holes that he drills in the attic?
Ooh,
Christopher Eccleston.
I can't remember.
It might. Do you know what I might be confusing it with is the film Seven. There's a guy that's like an emaciated, withered, desiccated corpse, but it's actually still alive, and there are hunters, absolutely hunters of magic trees that are hanging in the room. I'm going to say in the basement. If it's no got windows, you probably don't need to worry about it too much. And I'd imagine if you're the kind of person that's got a corpse in there, you're probably living alone. So you're not worried about the smell coming up the stair.
So you're saying 15?
I'm going to say at least 250 if you're wanting to mask the smell, if you're wanting to hide it for people.
A magic forest.
Aye. There are no magic trees anymore, are they? It's the magic Amazon rainforest. Pine fresh.
Aye. Put under your patio. That's what they did in Brookside, and they never needed any magic trees. Just a bit of digging in that. So, Mal Bergen said, if you could come up with a product for the Hibs shop, what would it be?
I don't know, Ken. Honestly, I keep thinking or trying to think of ideas for Longbangers merchandise that we can sell to try and generate a wee bit of income. And so far I've fell short.
Okay, what I think would be a good thing. Do you know how you get air horns? Do you know, which is the canister with a big red kind of thing. That's how it goes.
Thank you for the sound effects and the visual effects.
That's how you press it.
I would never have known what an air horn was.
I'd like them to sell those, but with different noises that come out. So you could have things like you press it and you get the crowd cheering, or one for booing, or one that goes, "You fat bastard," or whatever it is that you want to do. That's be with different air horns as well. I quite like the idea of that it's just a different sound effect rather than the air horn noise that comes out.
I was thinking about the possibility for a really short Hibs song, but everyone that had an air horn had like a different part of it, whether it was one word or two or three words.
So you could conduct them. You get the singing section doing it.
You could conduct it, exactly.
Yep, that's got loads of potential. We need to market that, John. Liam said, I read that 4,156,237 people got married last year. Not sure how accurate that number is. I don't want to cause any trouble, but shouldn't that be an even number?
It should be.
So somebody's maybe married themselves or married two people.
I've read about the concept of people marrying themselves, and I've seen it once, maybe twice. I don't know if it's legally binding. I think it's more of a sort of ceremonial thing.
Why would you do that though? Like, do you not think you're kind of limiting your options? Because, I mean, would you then, like, if you met somebody you fancied, would you have to divorce yourself, have a wee word with yourself first that, things aren't working out with myself, I've met this person?
Are you a bigamist if you are married to yourself and then marry
somebody else.
Someone
Well,
like marry into a couple.
yeah, it would have to be. But it's stupid. That's why I don't see why there's any point in doing it. It seems like a really redundant thing to do. But then I suppose if you're the sort of person that would marry yourself, then yeah, there's probably a reason for that. So
Why? Oh fuck! Why is it not an even number, Matty? It's going to annoy me. Is the
maybe somebody never turned up and they just went ahead anyway.
Can you have a legally binding throuple?
Not in Britain, I don't think.
Because it was on that what was it called? The Tiger King. He got married to 2 boys.
Well, there's maybe your answer. I don't know if that was worldwide. You think more than 4 million people were worldwide when they got married, although it was a lockdown year, so
But
maybe that
there's
reduced
what,
the
like
numbers.
7 billion odd? Nah, as a proportion, four just over 4 million folk getting married
Yeah,
out of over 7 billion people. That's
nah. So where's that number come from? We need a bit more context in it, because if you start to go, like if you start taking in some of the states in America where things like the Tiger King can happen, then an even number is probably not that unusual. Sorry, an odd number is not that unusual. Have you ever seen like the things where folk marry inanimate objects or their pets?
I've not seen that, but I've seen or read about instances of people who develop a sexual attraction for inanimate objects, so like cars. I read about someone who, I think they were attracted to the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah, see that somebody with a fence as well. How do they get consent?
Matty, this is a minefield.
Aye, that's what. I mean, how do you know that? Because I'm sure people have had the ceremony to marry, and then you go, well, you'd have to know that the feelings were mutual and that the love was reciprocated. And then, if that's not the case, what are you doing marrying something? You can't just impose yourself. Do you know, it's not the Dark Ages.
I read about a boy in America who shagged a dolphin.
Now, where, there's the next question. Where did they shag it? Was it in the...
If I remember rightly, the article went into graphic detail based on his recounting of the
blowhole or
encounter.
elsewhere?
It was elsewhere. It wasn't in the blowhole. But oh shit! What was it? Oh fucking hell! I've read and seen some amount of shit on the internet, but this actually comes from a book, and it was a collection of it. It was almost like a collection of Darwin Awards, and it was called the name of the book was "Man Suffocated by Potatoes." So it talked about, or it had a newspaper clipping from like a guy who fell into like a vat of lipstick or something, or a vat of Hershey's chocolate. There was a whole bunch of other stuff. But it also talked about this woman who kept going into hospital to complain of discharge from a stoma. And it was basically because her and her husband had developed a wee bit of a thing where he was basically putting his knob in this hole in her body that was for, I don't know if it was for like a colostomy bag or something, but the discharge was his fucking jizz.
How does that?
There was another one with jam as well.
How do you raise that? Do you know? How do you get to the point where you're going, all right, that might be an idea to do it, but then how would you voice that to your other half to say, right, I know that's for your colostomy bag, but I wouldn't mind just trying, and this will be gesture again, and why are they saying yes to that? The whole bit of it, I just like, what? It's like the film Crash, isn't it? There's a whole film about that where folk deliberately have accidents so that they can have a go at each other's wounds.
Wait, was Crash not the film with, what was his name? Matt Dillon?
No, I'm sure. I think it's James Spader that's in it.
There was a film called, I'm sure it was called Crash. Matt Dillon was in it. I think he was a policeman, but he was also a racist policeman. It was like everyone's different view of events that had taken place. I think it all centered around this car crash. But you're telling me there's another one where people are
Yeah,
deliberately
so
crashed.
there's one called Crash. It was 2004. That's got Don Cheadle and Sandra Bullock in it. It's not
Yep.
that one. And then Crash in 1996, James Spader and Holly Hunter. And the synopsis, this is from IMDb. After getting into a serious car accident, a TV director discovers an underground subculture of scarred, omnisexual car crash victims who use car accidents and the raw sexual energy they produce to try to rejuvenate his sex life with his wife. Again, like how?
Have you ever been in a car crash?
Yeah.
Did you have raw sexual energy as a result?
No, I know I had a bit of a headache.
That can't be a thing. That must just be someone's imagination just gone wild.
Got mental. But what a weird thing. Imagine making a film about it as well. Yeah, I've never seen it. I just knew of the film. It's the sort of film that like I heard about and thought that sounds shite, and so I never watched it.
Surely there's. I was going to say there's easier ways to have sex, and it's obviously shagging a stoma.
I just don't get how again there's the whole consent, but it's the fact that somebody's had the thought to do it, but then convinced somebody else that that's an all right thing to do. I see your legs quite badly wounded there. Yeah, as
it would be a shame if someone came along and fucked it.
I'm literally just on the back of a car accident. In fact, you can still see the wreck here. I know, but that cut there looks about the right size for. Yeah, I'm not really into that. Don't think it. I'm going to do it though. No, like
Are you not feeling this raw sexual energy?
No,
are you not overcome?
I don't feel any raw sexual energy. I've just had a Nissan Micra going to the back end in my car. I'm pissed off, is what I am. I know you can't shag a hole in my leg.
Oh.
Aye, weirdos. Right. Rally Grifter's job. I reckon how we got into that. Right. Mikey said, beans on toast, do you use butter or just plain?
Butter. Have to have butter.
Have to have
pack.
butter. So here's a question for you, right? If you're making, so we call them cheesy beanos, but beans and cheese on toast, what order do you layer up your toast?
If you're having cheesy beanos? You have the butter on top of the toast, then you have the beans on top of the butter, you have the cheese on top of the beans. But you have to, so you put your beans in the pot, you make it there, and see, this is the thing. Do you put the bread in the toaster to toast both sides, or do you have the grill on? Because I think that the grill needs to be at an optimum temperature. So you use the grill to toast your bread on one side, you flip it over, but then that fucks up the butter.
Nah, right. Toast in the toaster. Fine for that, right? Toast in the toaster. Out it comes. Slap some butter on it. Some cheese on it, right? Put the beans on top of that, right? The heat for the beans starts melting the cheese, and you get a wee bit of cheese sprinkled on the top as well. The best cheese you'll have.
I'm not saying that's wrong. Like I was going to say, if you really, really wanted to get into your cheese, you would definitely put a layer of cheese underneath.
Aye.
But do you put, for your cheesy beanos, do you put them under the grill to melt the cheese, or do you just allow the heat for the beans?
The heat for the beans does the trick.
Because it's you get a slightly different texture going on if you have the heat for the beans and the heat for the grill.
The problem is if you grill the beans after they've been cooked, they turn into molten lava.
Aye, but you've not got them in there for long. It's just like a finishing touch.
Aye. Just use the heat for the beans to melt the bit of grated cheese on the top.
There you go. Cooking lessons a la Longbangers.
Still, by the way, on that, we asked ages and ages ago about the best way to shell an egg, and we got 0 answers on that, which I thought was a disgrace. And frankly, if you're listening to this now and you know how a good way to shell an egg and you've not got in touch with us, you should be ashamed of yourself.
Did I tell you that I'd tried something that I'd seen on TikTok or Twitter or one of those viral videos that do the rounds of, I think I put...
You put it in a cup?
I think I put it in a cup and I spun it. But I just obliterated the egg. It came out and it was just mush.
I think sometimes that can work and then other times it just goes crap. Right. Belden Lascar said, standing shite or seated pish? So I think that's an obvious one. I'd quite happily sit down for a piss. I would never. I can't think of any circumstance where I would stand up for a shit though. It's like how, unless I suppose you try to hover over. Do you know if it's like a manky train spotting esque worst toilet in Scotland?
You ever had to squat for a jobby?
In the park and that, like, but you'd be in the portal, you know, like you just
Aye.
obviously you wouldn't want to have any contact with that. What I tended to find was at in the park would try to take stuff that would stop you needing to go to the toilet, so some Imodium or that, and then that I just hope that sees you right through the weekend until you go back home for a monster one.
Everyone else is chucking eckies down their neck and you're on the Imodium.
I didn't say that was all I was having.
I'm not here for a good time. I'm just here not to shite.
The rank though. Did you ever do tea in the park?
Mhm.
Toilets are the worst thing.
I say I did it. I went one Sunday when the Foo Fighters were playing about, I want to say about 2014 or something.
Aye.
No, it must have been earlier than that. Anyway, whenever it was, went to go see Foo Fighters and My Chemical Romance. Who else was playing? Saw Pulp.
Oh,
They're
aye.
pretty good.
Pulper Brawley Festival band. Very good. Right, anyway, standing shite or seated pish? Answer the question, John. Stop digressing.
Seated pish.
Aye, same here.
Aye.
Right, Ladij said, why do people bother with black lampshades? If they don't want lights from a lamp, they could just not switch it on. It's a very
Black
good point.
lampshades.
Yeah.
Goths.
Ah, good shout. You never see goths driving, do you?
No, you never.
Why
It's
is that?
It's because they're creatures of the night.
The cars go out at night.
Aye. But then you'd never be able to see in the car, would you? Because when you're out driving at night time, say you've got the headlights on, you didn't really see what's going on inside the other car.
Ah, that's true.
So actually, when you're out at night, the majority road users at that time will be goths. It's just science.
That's an interesting theory.
What you need to do is crash into one of them. Excuse me, are you feeling some raw sexual energy as a result of our collision?
I know you look sad.
But I've got a way to cheer you up.
Alex said, what's the best wee white lie you've ever told a child? For example, the bits in your orange juice are blue bottles, wings, bees make honey, and wasps make marmalade, and the ice cream van only plays music when it's got no ice cream left, etc. Have you ever tell a child a white lie, John?
Probably. I can't think of any off the top of my head. It wasn't a child. It's not even a white lie. It was just absolute bullshit that they fell for. So I don't know if it counts.
What was it?
So there's a place near where I stay called Deckman Hill, and I was going out with a girl at the time, and we were chatting about something, and it was a really, really nice day. Like, beautiful sun was in the sky, clear blue skies, and I said to her, "Do you know, see for the top of Deckman Hill?" And it's not that big. So it was where we were talking about
The
the
UFO.
new,
Yeah.
Aye. So it's maybe, God, I don't even know how tall it is, but it's not that tall. Like, it doesn't dominate the landscape. And I said to her, on a really clear day, if you were to go up to Deckman Hill, the top of Deckman Hill, it's got a wee plinth up there. It's like your trigonometry point, and if you were to look on a perfectly clear day, you'll be able to see Norway. And she went, "Really?" No, fucking idiot.
Brilliant. That's some chat like that. I remember telling somebody that New Zealand was built on top of Old Zealand. Obviously, you do tell, like, you say things to kids that you didn't really think about, and often you didn't really kind of think further down the line about what impact that is. So one of the things I remember saying to the kids, and this is a handy one if you're a parent, is if they tell a lie, it changes the colour of their tongue. So if somebody's saying they did that, and the other one's saying no, they did it, and you tell them both, well, one of you is lying, and your tongue changes colour, so stick your tongues out, and then you see which one's reluctant to stick their tongue out, and you know who's telling the lie. you get away with that for quite a while as well because you can't really see your own tongue when you stick
Aye.
it out.
I'm sure everyone's probably told their brother or sister this, but I told my brother he was adopted.
Brilliant. I tell it to my
Um,
kids all the time.
I don't think he believed me, but as we've gotten older and I've seen the Nicky like the rest of my family, I think I'm the one that's adopted.
There's that realisation. You go, oh, I remember there's a wee road in Edinburgh. So if you're coming from Fife into Edinburgh, you come down Cramond, and if you turn right before you kind of get to the lights at Barnham,
Mhm.
there's a road called Camel Road, and if you follow that road round, it goes round like the back of the airport. It's
Yep.
just like a wee country road, and it's a good wee shortcut if you're don't want to get stuck in the traffic. And actually, quite a nice wee drive. Anyway, I like watching planes landing and taking off, and just I don't know why, but if you're driving and a plane's taking off, that's quite a good thing. One of the wee things in life that gives you pleasure.
Are you a secret plane
Plane
spotter?
spotter? No, I've no. I was fascinated by it. They're fucking massive. How does a plane work? It's like mental. Anyway, that's for another time, John. In fact, I watched this thing one time, right? There was an aerospace engineer, and they were talking about the unpredictability of like some like water, for example. So you turn a tap on, and it's almost impossible initially to model how the water will react when it hits the basin, right?
Right.
Generally, it does the same thing once it starts flowing, but your initial thing, because water is so loosely connected, like obviously liquid, the particles are far apart, and anything could happen. And what they're saying is it's the same with air, right? And obviously, a plane works by forcing air under the wings,
Mhm.
right, to give it elevation. And what this guy was saying was, in theory, air might not do it because you can't predict. He said it does do it, but in theory, there's a chance that the air might not go under the wing. That you can't predict that it will go exactly as you want it to.
So is that where things like, is it crosswinds and wind shear? Is that where they come into
I
effect?
don't
Where
know,
it
maybe turbulence and
crash a
things like
plane?
that. There's just things happen that they can't quite predict. But they know with that, obviously with a degree of certainty that 99.99999% of the time the air goes under the wings and
Aye.
up it goes.
The listeners will need to forgive me if they know that this is bullshit. But one of the things that blew my mind about airplanes, I can't remember who it was that told me. I can't remember where it was, but whoever it was that told me said it with a certain air, pardon the pun, of authority. So I was just sat there in awe, like, fuck. They said that airplanes, it is easier for them to take off when they're flying into the wind. And see, now that I've said that out loud, it makes perfect sense. But
Yeah.
I would have thought that they would have needed a tailwind
To give them the speed. No, it
to
makes
give them a bit of a push.
the air under it. Yeah, it makes sense to have the wind. Anyway, I was driving that road fairly regularly. It's actually where I had my car crash, ironically, or coincidentally. It's not really ironic. Coincidentally, I one day I had the kids in the car and we're going that route. And I told them, because you go into like a wee country bit and it's all kind of trees are overgrown in it. I said that I met a wee wizard there one time. And the wizard had given me a couple of wishes. You just to tell the wee story to occupy them. And I thought that would be the end of that. But do you think they ever let me forget that story? And whenever we went that route, they went, "Did you not meet a wizard here?" And eventually I was like, "No, that like I don't remember that ever happening." So my daughter's just kind of poked her head in and she's laughing because this is true. I got taken to task every time we went that route until I had to just say no, it wasn't true. I just told the story.
Did you ever take advantage of the wishes that the wizard had given you?
I can't even remember what I said to her. That's how bad it is. If you're going to tell a white lie, you have to remember it, which is the issue. Is
So in summary, Matty likes going down wee country lanes, plane spotting.
yeah, with wizards.
With fucking wizards.
What a fucking idiot. I've not been that way for ages with lockdown and that. can't even care if planes are still taking off and landing at Edinburgh Airport these days. Right, 150k on Hanlon Hill said, if we've evolved from monkeys, how come their feet are like an extra pair of hands and ours are pretty rudimentary? How would it affect VAR if our feet were as dexterous as theirs? Would every touch be handball? I'm at my wit's end. I need to know. So, I suppose we evolved. Yeah, well, presumably our feet are better as feet than a monkey's feet are as feet. In that case, like if we've evolved and survived and prospered with feet like ours and left the monkeys behind, still good enough to survive, but with little hand feet, then
Honestly, anyone that's not watching this on YouTube or recast, why not? You need to have seen the hands that Matty's just made. Like a fucking raptor in Jurassic Park.
little hand feet. What would your shoes be like?
If you were a monkey and your feet were as was it dexterous? Was that the word? If your feet were as dexterous as
Yeah.
your hands, would you wear gloves in the winter or would you wear shoes?
A monkey's not a bed either, so you wouldn't be thinking about it unless you ditched the hair as well. Like if you'd evolved enough not to be hairy, like a monkey, to that extent.
So that's the thing. Why do humans have pubic hair around their genitals, but monkeys don't?
Well, that because back in the days before Velcro was invented, they had to use pubic hair as Velcro.
Why have monkeys? I don't know. Oh, I was going to try and get some sort of plug in there for Manscaped.
No. I think monkeys would. Right, so if you had hand feet and you tried to play football, would it be handball? No.
No, it wouldn't be. It wouldn't be. Because you would surely have designated feet. It would be the things that would make most contact with the ground. Like no like you go into the referee's room before the game and go, by the way, ref, these are my designated feet.
I'm using the bottom ones today. They're the designated feet. I'll put the boots on so you can tell.
So just, I was thinking about this before. It occurred to me that as much as that would be really, really handy if you were so able-bodied that you could sort of interchangeably use your hands and feet. Like a monkey. Hang on, what am I trying to say here?
I've no idea. But we've moved on
as much as monkeys have the use of both their hands and feet interchangeably, they are not as advanced mentally, psychologically as us. Does that make sense? Like their brains have remained the same size, and while our brains have gotten bigger and we've stood upright.
If there's monkeys listening to this, they'll probably be fucking challenging that point right now.
There'll be some boy on the other side going, or some monkey going, "Here, have you listened to this cunt? Says we're not advanced."
Pair of stupid bastards. Right, I think Ken, we're not David Attenborough, obviously. If you've guessed already.
Our brains got bigger and we learn to walk upright, and their brains never got bigger, and that's why they remain as flexible as they are.
Yeah, and to be fair, we got a better deal because although they could probably peel a banana with their feet, they can't play football, and we can play football or watch football. We can drive cars. They can't. So
honestly, coincidentally, I saw something about how humans evolved the other day, and it was like it was an amateur thing. So you'll need to take it with the usual pinch of salt that you take most longbangers facts with. But it was saying that at some point during evolution, as we've branched off from your regular chimps and monkeys and whatnot, we have walked upright, but we're not designed to do that. We are designed to walk on all fours, and seemingly that is why we are plagued with back pain from about the age of 14 onwards.
Nah, that can't be right. That can't be right.
Like I say, usual pinch of salt.
Yeah, walking upright is the most efficient way for us to walk. That's why we prospered.
No, we prosper because of the size of our brains.
Well, and being able to walk upright, etc. It's a whole combination. That's how evolution works. So the strongest genes survive and grow. So
I can't believe you're trying to teach me how evolution works. The
King John,
fucking
what are we doing? Right. Mel Bergen replied to that one and said, "Thanks, that's messed up my morning." Yet there were some Russian scientists that tried to get monkeys to mate with females so they could have hybrids.
Aye. I've got the webpage open on my phone because I googled it.
Hold on a wee second. Was this not just like Noel and Liam Gallagher having kids?
No.
Right. Liam Fogarty, John, you did have to look it up. We'll move on. Liam Fogarty said, "Which footballing cliche would you purge forever if you could?"
Just about.
Oh, that's a good shout. So he's just about scored there.
Just
And he
about
has
saved
scored.
that.
Yeah.
Aye.
But
He's just about done enough.
Aye, just about done enough there. Fuck
I
off,
also hate. He should have done better there. He should have scored. He should have done this. He should have done that. Like, aye, but like he wasn't deliberately trying to miss.
Aye. Somebody said, I forgot to bookmark the tweet, but they had mentioned he's got to work the goalkeeper there.
Aye, I really like that reply.
Aye, they want to work the goalkeeper, want him to score.
Aye.
Fair enough. Ideally, you want the keeper standing there going, no chance.
It's like with that the thing that I mentioned there about, you know, whether it's working the goalkeeper or, you know, doing better. It's almost like the person saying it forgets that there's another player. Like there's an action like the shooting or whatever, and then there's an opposite reaction like a goalkeeper saving it, for example. Plus all the other things that affect a football game: grass, wind, rain, boots, a bobble, whatever.
Hand feet,
fucking monkeys on the pitch. They think it's all over.
I don't like a square ball because it's fucking nonsense, isn't it, when you think about it?
I know where you're coming.
Yep.
Where you're coming from.
So I would park the bus is another one that's kind of now common parlance that you think, nah, bollocks to that. They're not driving a bus; they're just defending.
Aye. Do you know football? Football is a much better watch without commentary. Like definitely with fans in the stadium, so there's a bit of noise or whatever. But turn the commentary off because they just talk absolute shit. So we talked about it recently when Tam McManus was having a crack at Lewis Stevenson for supporting attack. Just second after saying, I think he was complimenting Dougie Tripod for the amount of running that he'd been doing before he was replaced.
Aye. Andrew Brown said, "Is Callum McGregor's career what would have happened to Jay Shields if he'd come through at Celtic?" Hashtag distinctly average. I thought that was a really interesting point because Callum McGregor gets a lot of plaudits, but has had a shite season, I think it's fair to say. And so, would an average player in that Celtic team that he's come through it looked as good as Callum McGregor looked, and then get found out the way that Callum McGregor's been found out when the rest of the team's humpty?
Aye. I know what you mean. I think what folk liked about Jay Shields was he was all action. Like he wasn't particularly, I wouldn't say he was particularly gifted, but people loved a crunch and challenge from him.
Jay Shields is the one that put the tackle in on Paul Hartley that Paul Hartley absolutely shat out of.
Yeah, I think that led to a Hibs goal, did it not?
Yeah, it did. It did. Hartley complained about the challenge as well. And it was fucking wrong.
I think he was still complaining when Hibs scored.
Aye. He proper shit it as well, because he jumped up with a wee woo gesture. Prick. Right, St. Christopher said Oklahoma has put a $2.1 million bounty for someone to catch Bigfoot. Which Hibs player should be sent to hunt him? And once caught, what position are we playing him?
Oh, this. Do you know, I had a thought there that was going to be really, it would have come across as really quite insulting.
Brilliant.
I don't know whether to go for it or not.
Yeah, but listen, if ever there was a podcast to go for something like that, John, it's all banter. Nobody's taking us seriously. You're okay.
So on the one hand, I think the person that looks more, the person or the footballer that looks most suited to being an outdoorsman hunting Bigfoot would probably be Darren McGregor. Like, he looks like a lumberjack. You could put him in the sort of plaid shirt. He's got the beard and everything. You can imagine him with an axe over his shoulder, living off the land, making himself a sleeping bag out of whatever was lying around in a fire and whatnot. And by the same token, the person who also looks most like they are suited to the outdoors is Paul McGinn.
Yep. Jackson Irvine. He's got that look about him. Do you know, like he's...
No way. He's Mo Sizzlack tattoos and
he's grew up in Australia. He's probably got some experience of the bush, the outback, etc. Big spiders and that. I reckon he would be. He'd be right out there.
Do you think that Australia's home to, I think, most of the most venomous species on Earth?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that the outback of Oklahoma is quite as dangerous. So Jackson Irvine might be underutilised there.
They've got a Bigfoot on the loose, mate. So you might want to revise that statement.
Aye, but I suppose Bigfoot's not really going to be found in the Australian outback if you are too busy looking for all the snakes and insects that are going to fucking bite you and kill you.
Yeah, to be fair, if you're Bigfoot, you're probably avoiding there anyway, because that just seems like a hassle. He's a bigger target for these things.
Aye.
More likely to stand on something, isn't it?
There's more feet per square inch to latch your fangs in it.
Do you think Bigfoot would be good at skiing?
With just his feet?
Yeah.
For his skis?
Yeah.
Nah, but I think he'd be good at water skiing rather than snow skiing.
Maybe.
I've got no science to back that up with. I'm just thinking width of feet. Like, he might, I don't know, would he be good as a snowboarder? Nah. Good, he'd be excellent in the water.
And if he was a footballer, what position would you be playing him?
Centre half, alongside Darren McGregor.
I stick him in goals because you'd be a chance of saving things. Do you know, just get him to stand. Do you know, folk who have feet that are like at 10 to 2?
Do you know,
stand like that?
See if you've ever seen that classic Bigfoot footage where he's just sort of like wandering through the forest. That's why you would never want him in goals for Hibs, because they just go wandering. They just go walkabout.
Just off in one.
Aye. You just, the last thing you'd see him was just disappearing down Albion Road.
Do you know, in these like Be Kind days, right, where people are much more sensitive to,
Everything?
Yeah, everything, but not, like, is Bigfoot a fair name for him? Do you know what I mean? Is that like
what are you going to call him? Like podiatry challenged?
Dave. Gogs, like Dod, Kim, whatever. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, he's just because he's got big feet. Like, that is that a bit harsh?
He's got a real name, John.
Aye, in these enlightened times, just to go, oh, there's a cunt with big feet. What are we going to call him? Bigfoot. Because he's just like a big. He's like sort of a halfway house between an ape and a man, isn't he? But instead of having wee feet hands, he's got big feet.
Nah, he's
only got one big foot. Is his other foot normal size?
Like, do you mean why is he not called Big Feet?
Yeah.
Maybe that's. I was going to say that would surely make him easier to find if he had one big foot and one normal foot, because he'd just be walking around in circles.
And he'd be ideal for. Do you know how? I don't know if they still do, but shoe shops used to just put out rows of shoes, but it was all just one foot. So he'd be all right. You could get one normal size one, and then you don't have to either buy or chore a massive one.
He'd definitely be like Big Dave. Would you even be able to call him Big Dave, or is he just Dave?
It's Dave.
Dave going for a wee.
Yeah, Big Dave would be all right, because I imagine there'd be like another Dave kicking about, and that's just a differentiator.
If you've got two pals that are called Dave, and one of them's got giant feet, Big Dave's the differentiator.
Yeah.
Aye.
But I thought that it's like, is that harsh now in these days where folk are a bit more aware of these things? If that's his one, and he can't help it, can he? Like, he's just been born that way. Well, he's one massive foot. Right, 150k on Hanlon Hill said if John McGinn was swimming up the Suez Canal and a sandstorm blew him off course, would his best asset block international trade for 10 days?
Aye.
I think they could have got McGinn down there to back into it. You know, the boat that was blocking it to move it. You know, they were trying different sizes, tugs, everything. That's a funny word for a boat as well, eh? Oof, look at the wee tug. They had loads of wee tugs when they were trying to get that moved. I was like, they shouldn't be having wee tugs. They should be concentrating on moving the boat.
How engrossed were you by the Evergreen being stuck in the Suez Canal?
Not at all. I
No?
I liked knowing how it happened. There was like a computer model of it that I saw on Twitter, and they demonstrated that it clipped the bank on one side and then tried to turn, but it went too far, and then the wind caught it, and then it wedged.
Oh, it's overcorrected and just ploughed into the bank.
Aye, because what I liked about that is you've probably got the captain. It's a captain of a boat, isn't it? Who's probably taking his mind off things, maybe farting about on his phone, is maybe playing Snake on his Nokia, right? And
why has he got a Nokia?
Oh, fucking why not? He's driving a boat, right? So he's farting about on Snake, no really looking where he's going, looked up at last minute because somebody's gone, fuck, and he's gone, oh, shit, like the Titanic, right? And he's going, oh, fuck, I've clipped that bit, tried to sort it out, panicked, went too far the other way, and then the next thing, $6 billion a day, stuff is getting held up.
He's sitting on the bridge, and he's got one of those like big ship's wheels, and it's got like the wee sort of brass thing that says like full steam ahead and that, and there's a boy there fucking whipping it backwards and forwards trying to get the right speed, and he's fucking spinning the wheel.
What I hope is maybe he'd been attempting a 3-point turn. He's going, oh fuck the Suez Canal. I wasn't meaning that one. I needed another canal. I should right, turn around. 3-point turn and just got stuck. But instead of having a tug when they're trying to fix it, or several tugs, they should have got John McGinn down there just to back into it with his arse. That would have shifted it in no time.
There's going to be bigger arses available than John McGinn's though, or maybe they could have just employed them all.
No with the same power.
No with the same.
Nah, I think that's McGinn just doing that kind of wee hunched over the ball thing where he's backing into them. It's all he would do. Put a ball at his feet, turned him in a different direction for the boat, and tell him the boat was about to challenge him. And he would have backed into it, shifted it, no bother. And then gone back to Hampden to score a couple of goals for Scotland.
Aye. Did you see that he scored 9 out of the 24 goals since Steve Clarke took charge?
Apparently, there's only 15 players who have scored more goals than him for Scotland in the history of international football for as long as records have been going. There's 16 players to get to double figures for Scotland, and good job against one of them. It's not bad for a midfielder as well.
Aye, it's not bad for a guy that couldn't make it into Celtic's first team.
Mental, absolutely mental. Alistair Taylor said, what's the worst excuse stroke reason you've given to dumping someone you've been seeing? He said, I once told a girl I had to go into hospital for a new kidney and would be on a dialysis for a while and she'd be best moving on with her life. Always complete bollocks, obviously. So I would be feared, with an excuse like that, I would be feared that you were just tempting fate. And that's what would end up happening.
Aye. I'm sure I've told you before, but there was a woman I was seeing, and she invited me to her house in Kirkcaldy, and I went over, and I think she had made like delay going over by about like an hour or two, and she said, I just need to run the Hoover and Duster over the place. So I was like, aye, fine, no bother. So I went through afterwards, and I walked in, and there was like a giant Haribo strawberry up in the corner of the living room ceiling.
Yeah, amazing.
And the place was an absolute tip. I was like, fuck me, where did you run the Hoover and Duster over? So I stayed for the weekend and did my thing. And
you wouldn't hoover the ceiling though, would you?
No, but I mean, but that was the thing. Like, she pointed out to me, like, she was quite proud of it. Oh, one of my pals stuck that up there for a laugh. It was like, I was thinking to myself, like, if you're going to do that, like, if you know that it's there, like, and you said that you were going to clean before I came through, and by the way, like, I'm not the world's cleanest person. as you can tell by the fucking state of this room. Like, I'm not, but it was just too manky for me. Like, I remember brushing my teeth and having the water running in the sink, and there was something that was blocking the drain, and it wasn't a plug, and the water was starting to rise back up. I was like, no, fuck this. Like, I'm not staying for this, apart from for the weekend, and then I'll go home. And what I did, and it was terrible, was I just stopped speaking to her. It was really, really, really bad, and I felt really, really bad about it, because she was like phoning and texting, like, just let me know that you're all right. And it was before I even knew what ghosting was. I'd basically ghosted her. And then I did what most guys do when they have an attack of their conscience. I phoned her when I was absolutely reeking, and I must have left her like a 45-minute voicemail or something, just like apologising for me being a dick. And then I managed to kind of smooth things over, and like I said, like, I can't see you, basically. And then I think it was maybe like, it was a couple of weeks or it was a couple of months later, and she text messaged me out of the blue, and we got some chat going back and forth, and she ended up coming into mine, and I rattled her again.
Oh boy. Good stuff.
So I left it on, unbelievably left it on really good terms.
Good. Well, I've not really split up with many people over the years of having a decent excuse. Although I remember trying to get, I think I've told you about the Peterhead before. Sure, told this story in Robbie's bar. The woman for
aye. But you got left by your mate.
Yeah, and basically to not go back, I said I needed to go for a shite. I was like, I'm going to go to my own flat because I really need a shite. And her words were, "You can have a shite at mine." No, I'm going home. And then when I was 18 or 19, I worked at McDonald's, and there was a girl who, she wasn't bra, right? Is the nicest way to put it. She kind of had got the nickname Psycho Dave from my friends, and she used to keep trying.
Big feet.
No, she used to like try on with me a lot, and I wasn't. Actually, to the point, there was a night that I had been working. I'd gone home from work at night, and my mates had been out, flatmates had been out, and she was in like the circle of friends with some of my other flatmates, other halves, and they'd all come back down to the flat. They were all drunk, and so I'm in my bed, and actually what woke me up was her climbing into my bed, and I had to like say to her, "Can you get out of my bed, please?" Like, that was a mental night, because she ended up in her kitchen. So my bedroom backed onto the kitchen. I'd ushered her out of the house, out of my room, and she went into the kitchen and was sort of, this is terrible. She was like talking about going to do herself in and everything, and like everybody's like, "Oh no, you're overreacting," and kind of calming down. And that, meanwhile, I'm locking my door.
Because you chucked her out the bed.
Yeah. I'd locked my door. There's like a wee bolt lock, and put it on, and just pretty much hid in the room. I was like, "Fuck, I'm not getting involved in this." But she phoned it the next week. She had phoned my work, because it's at McDonald's, and I'm working, and she's like, "Are you coming out after work?" And I said, "No." And I tried to make an excuse first, like, "I'm not getting any money." She's like, "Oh, I'll give you money." And I'm going, "Well, that's not really why I'm not going out. I'm pretty tired." She's like, "Oh, you'll be fine." I think eventually she said, "You just don't want to go." And I was like, "Yeah, I don't want to go." Like, I'm just about as blunt as I could possibly. I'm not in any way, shape, or form interested, and I'm literally avoiding a night out with my mates so as not to bump into you. And she's like, "Oh, okay then."
Oh shit.
But, I don't know how much more you can try to give somebody a hint, like tactfully, and be nice, and then
I worked
it was difficult.
Porter. I worked as a porter at St John's in Livingston after leaving school. I think I maybe did it for like a year. And there was a domestic who had taken a bit of a shine to me. I can't remember what her name was. I've got a vague recollection of what she looked like. But she was like, she made it very, very clear that she was interested in me. And I remember one night, whatever time it was, I was working, and she chased me through the labs at St John's Hospital. Like, I don't even mean like there was a sea of like beakers and all sorts like getting smashed behind me. It was just like through the corridor, and you had like a wee swipe to get through them all. she just would not that she wouldn't take no for an answer. She was just trying to corner me. I was like, no, fuck that. Like, I need to get as far away from you as possible.
Did you have the Ben Hill music playing in your head when that was happening?
Aye.
Good.
Aye.
That makes it less sinister.
But the thing is, like, I don't know about you, but like, do you ever have any sort of like recurring dreams where you're being chased or running away from something? Like it's kind of like an unseen danger.
No, but the only recurring dream that I ever have, and it's not like a recurrent every night, but it goes back to working for McDonald's. I dream that I'm mid shift in McDonald's and there's stuff going on, and without fail, what happens in the dream is I remember I don't work there anymore, and I get to tell them. It's fucking amazing. I don't have to do
It's
this.
over.
So you can walk out. Like, it is a brilliant dream to have it fairly frequently, but not like every night kind of levels of the current dream. But and there'll be different things that will be happening. Like, it's not always an identical dream, but always there's the point where I go, I have to do this, and I work here.
Aye.
Yes. Anyway.
No, it's just like she didn't help matters with that at all. In fact, I think she fueled it even further. Honestly, I still remember it. It was almost like, if you can imagine, like a sort of Friday the 13th or a Halloween style, where you're running away from like the monster, if you like. I just remember being at one side of the labs along this big long corridor. There was no one else working at that time of night, and I'm at the other one, and I'm desperately trying to swipe this fucking card so I can get through the magnetically sealed door and get the fuck out of there.
Aye, great, eh? And look at us now. No offense, look at me now, John. You're still a handsome man.
I'll try.
Right, Leon said, with Hibs practically guaranteed at least fourth place, what city would you like to visit following Hibs next season?
Where have you been to see Hibs abroad?
Nowhere. Never been on a European trip. I will be as soon as we're able to. That's on my bucket list to do.
Somewhere. So I know for a fact that Berlin's pretty good going. Like, it's got a really easy going outside, like out on the street drinking culture. So pretty much anywhere like that. Elfsborg was pretty good for that when we were up there. So pretty much on a bucket list kind of thing. I wonder. Do you know what would be good? I saw actually someone was talking about. I think it was on this thread. Someone was talking about like prices.
Cheap pints. They had a website they looked up, and it was Ukraine, 50p a pint.
Pence. Aye, so let's go to Ukraine. Let's go get blasted with whatever it is, radium for the Chernobyl plant.
Well, somebody else said Edinburgh, which would have been my answer if they hadn't beat me to it, because I just want to get back to Easter Road and watch the Hibs of the care. That would be the best thing. Just to have to go abroad, just let me enter Easter Road and watch them.
I was thinking about that earlier, about what it's going to be like when you celebrate the first goal scored post-lockdown at Easter Road. They're going to be, going to be phenomenal.
The whole thing's going to be fun. Like, I genuinely well up thinking about it, especially if. So I think we're going to be letting it reduced capacity to begin with, but imagine like the first big game that we win when we're back and the crowd's, back to what it was pre-COVID. It is going to be just immense. In fact, I was driving back from dropping my daughter off at the train station the other day, and Sunshine and Leith came on my playlist, and that was enough to kind of tip me over almost. I was like, come on, just let me back at the football. Just let us, come on, government, whoever, COVID, fuck off, let us back to the football.
Vaccinate me,
let us in. Please.
Get a robot to jab me in the arm as I scan my season ticket at the barcode reader. I'll take 3 of them. If it goes wrong, just as long as I can get in.
Yeah, I'm all for that. Right, Crimpers said, would you choose truth or dare?
Dare.
Truth for me.
Shy bag.
Well, the whole point is that neither's like the dare's the better option than the truth sometimes, Dave. John.
Dave?
I've said Dave.
You're saying I've got big feet?
Oh, no. The truth or dare, right? The reason there's a choice is, depending on the question, truth is going to be worse than the dare.
Is it not just a case of like you're offered truth or dare and you get to choose?
Or, so
it's not.
You don't
know what the truth. Aye.
No, I think you get the question first. It's truth or dare. So either reply to the question or you do a dare. The forfeit.
Oh, aye. Okay, I suppose. Oh, so that's kind of like that. Like there's 3 prizes behind, or there's a prize behind 3 doors, and if you remove one of them, you get a better chance. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if you're already asked the
So,
question,
yeah.
you know whether you want like.
Yeah. So if you knew in advance,
Aye. I'd still probably take the dare. Dares are a bit more interesting. With a little.
But folk are doing fucking minging things with dares and that. And
Get in a car crash, have sex with the other party.
with a gammy leg. Oh, hold on. Would a gammy leg be oral sex with the leg?
It took me a second to.
Right. On a scale of 1 to 15, this is from Ryan. He said, on a scale of 1 to 15, how angry do you think the pen that Alan McGregor signed his contract with made him?
I think that he's probably snapped the end of the pen, or he's made the pen inoperable to be used by anyone else. And I'll tell you why. Because I learned recently that the fountain pen that a judge uses in America to sign off on someone's execution is ceremonially broken afterwards, so that it's never used for any other purpose. And this could potentially be Alan McGregor's last contract that he ever signs with Rangers. So he's going to make sure that pen is inoperable to be used by anyone else.
What I like to think happened was somebody chucked it to him, he caught it, bounced it a couple of times, and booted it back across the room. 15, he definitely would have been angry about it. It'd be like a clicky pen, and obviously kicks about with his goalie gloves on the whole time, so that's fiddly with goalie gloves. Try to sign it with his goalie gloves on. It's too fiddly. He's click, click, click. It's not working. Click, 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 click. Fuck it. Bang, off a wall.
Do you think he's got the dexterity to be able to operate a pen, or do you think it's just like a big jumbo crayon in his goalie gloves? Signs it with an X and an orange Crayola.
Gets his foot up. Pen between the big toe and the next toe. Kaiser Soze said, if there was a heat map of your life, where would your red zones be?
Easter Road, Harpen Castle. By the way, the amount of heat that must be generated on the Living North Edinburgh Waverley train line as well.
Aye.
It would actually, when you think about it, it would probably look like a bit of a droopy cock. There'd be like a big heat map in Harpen Castle, a big heat map at Easter Road, and then just the Living North line.
Just like that. Mine would be between here and Tesco. That would be it. Here in Tesco and aye. Easter
As you
Road,
get a
yeah,
bit older, like I don't know, imagine you'll maybe experience that. No, I was going to say like
aye, thanks.
when you.
Like,
No. I was going to say.
I am, John.
No. I was going to say when you've got a family like yourself, like most of your duties will be basically like feeding and clothing and looking after and reading your children. But actually, they're different interests. Like you've spent a bit of time, like we've had a couple of delayed podcasts because you've been picking up one of your daughters for the train station, for example. Yep. There'll be whole heap of activities like that. So actually, you'll have quite a dispersed.
So yeah, you're right. Yeah, we'll kind of get sporadically about the place. On that subject, I just had an auto cue to say I need to pick up the daughter soon, so we will need to wrap up. Last couple of questions, John. Right, this is from the words. 2 questions. Will there be a worldwide shortage of tranquilizers after the Sevs used it all to stop McGregor raging long enough to sign a new deal? Yes. And the follow-up, which I like this question, describe McGregor's signature using the medium of interpretive dance. You just have to trust us that we've done that. Right, Alex, last 2 questions, John. Does the Pope have a PayPal account?
Yes. Do you think he's got a secret one, though, for the dodgy porn that he's looking up on Twitter?
For IPTV and that, yeah.
Aye.
Yeah, defo. And an ePray account as well.
ePray.
He's doing his shopping. And Mikey, last question of the night.
Only Sam's.
King Kong or Godzilla?
King Kong.
Aye.
He's got hands like feet.
Do you remember the
Godzilla, doesn't
he? The Godzilla cartoon?
No.
Oh man, look it up. Godzilla cartoon was quality. It was like obviously a big vicious bastard, but he was also quite friendly. So he was useful, a big, useful, vicious bastard. Yeah, you should look it up. Somebody will remember it, the Godzilla cartoon.
A big, vicious, helpful bastard, did you say?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like Mr. T?
Do you remember the Mr. T cartoon?
No.
So this is an actual thing. And it was fucking brilliant because it was Mr. T. It was not live action. You know, it was a cartoon. He had a gymnastics team, I think. Obviously, why would he not? That he kicked about with on adventures and stuff. Nobody questions this. They just accepted that this was a normal thing for, you know, a big muscly man to be doing. But then at the end, what happened? So they would solve whatever the issue was, and at the end, he would explain what the moral of the story was. So, kids, don't lie, otherwise your kids will call you out for it later on. But he would say, "Take it from me, Mr. T," and sort of the wee pointy thing at the camera. And then that was live action. That was in the cartoon, so it would cut to real life Mr. T at the end of the cartoon. It's going to be on YouTube or something. Watch it. I say watch it. I'm not meaning that as a threat. I mean go watch the cartoon. Right, John. That's the end of the podcast for tonight, mate. Quick bang on Monday. So we're going to do Longbangers on Tuesday because Hibs are playing Monday night. So quick bang on Monday. If you're interested in coming on, give us a shout on Twitter. We'll see you then. And if we didn't see you then, we'll see you on Tuesday for Longbangers. Take care. Cheers, John.
Dry County line, I pledged upon. Well, they trailed me down when I broke free. I drank all the whiskey in Tennessee. I don't drink water.